Shout out to YouTube. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. Shout out to my Instagram family. Good to see y'all. I was trying to get that set up. But in case you didn't know, this is STEMedia Live, where we chat with some of the most inspirational and creative people in the STEM community. I am your host, Dr. Nehemiah Mabry, and today is no exception, man. I'm excited. Let me introduce y'all to our guest. Billy Almon is a AstroBioFuturist, understanding what we'll need to live in space in the future and exploring how those things can be utilized on Earth today. Billy is a patented inventor who aims to reach the next generation of inventors, designers, scientists, and engineers, showing them how to design the future they wish to see. What up, Dana? Good to see you, man. In addition to speaking and hosting workshops, Billy, who we bring on, I'm going to ask him about all of that. But if y'all can do me a favor, right now, I present to some and introduce to others, Mr. Billy Almon. Let's get the hearts coming. Let's get the welcome him to STEMedia Live.
Yo, yo.
Boom, there he is. What up, what up, what up? What up, Billy?
What's going on?
Hey, man. Hey, listen, man. I'm just trying to make it do what it do. I'm here trying to run IG, YouTube at the same time because we know we got a lot of people that need to see your face, hear about what you do, because this is going to be a great chat, man. So thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. Good to catch up with you again.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So, y'all, this is Billy Almon. Hey, that's my man's Billy. All right, you already got some love. You see the hearts, man. I tell everybody that's the applause. That's like you coming out onto the late night show and they all applauding and cheering you on, man.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So faces.
Yep. Dr. Ja, Will Ness, thumbs up. So we're gonna kick things out as we normally do, Billy. We ask our guests to give us a random fun fact about themselves as we get this thing going and breaking the ice. So give us something that we wouldn't expect to hear from an AstroBioFuturist.
Man, this is a weird one. Well, it's weird to me. When I was 17, firehouse.
Uh-oh.
Crazy out here in California. When I was 17, I interned for a senator named Robert C. Byrd.
Okay.
And he was one of the longest serving senators in the history of Congress. And he was also a former member of the KKK.
I gotta be honest with you. I thought you was about to say, "Oh, you got caught up in the scandal." Man, that took a quick time.
I was trying to find something a little bit lighter, but that's the most random thing I could think of.
Hey, man, that is unbelievable. So you mean to tell me you used to work for a former member of the KKK as a senator? How was that, brother? I mean, did you get paid, right? I mean, how was that?
It was a good opportunity to get a letter of recommendation to school, but it was cool because it was one of those instances where it was a brother who came and saw the light.
Yeah. He changed his ways. Okay.
Yeah.
So
he was at the time I wanted to be a political science major, so it was the right move at the time.
Oh man, y'all get on STEMedia Live. I promise you, Billy.
I see some Howard alum. HU.
Also, you would let's get into the background a little bit, man. So you got an HBCU background, Howard?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Proud Bison. So you coast to coast here. Currently working in California. Went to college in DC. Where did you originate? Where did the Billy biology begin? Where's the origin story?
So actually, maybe this should have been the fun fact. I grew up as a military vet. So I was born in Germany, and we moved around like every 2 years. So lived in a couple of different states. Lived in Korea for 2 years in high school. Lived in several places in Germany. Then came back stateside. Graduated. Howard University.
Yeah. yeah. Okay, awesome, awesome. So you originally didn't have necessarily a STEM path. You had like a political science. You want to kind of be a politician. Was that
to do something impactful. I was thinking about being a lawyer possibly, but
okay?
you know, in school I love to draw, and I was taking a AP psychology course, and it totally just blew
Right.
my mind.
Okay.
So when I was looking at what can I do that combines, you know, this history, psychology, and art, architecture was the closest thing to that at the time. And then as a kid, I always wanted to be an inventor. That's how I always saw
Right.
myself.
Yeah. Me too.
So yeah,
Yeah. No doubt.
here we
That's
are.
like that. There we go, man. It's fake. So you want to be an inventor. You got into like architecture was sort of like one of your interests. So when did you make that hard turn into the sciences, man? Or yeah, things like that.
Yeah. So you know, from architecture for I'm sorry, my junior year, I entered a design competition
Okay.
for a theme park company that happens to make a lot of magic around the world. And
Okay. Okay.
out of that, I wound up getting an internship where my first job was literally to take all this cutting edge technology and find completely different, unique applications for it. So how can we take this, this engine and use it for
Yeah.
something that no one would ever think of? And so
Wow.
that was kind of the start of,
Your first internship was like that.
yeah, my first internship
That,
out of college.
that's
Actually,
dope.
yeah, yeah, that was the first one. I
Yeah.
had interned at an architecture firm.
Start off in the mailroom. You know what I mean? People start off in the. I think my particular. So I started off at NASA, man, and my first summer there, I was doing like HTML, like a little calendar website. It really had nothing to do with rocket science, but that didn't stop me from like being like, yeah, I do a little bit of rocket science. I'm
Yeah,
part time.
that's what's up
But
though.
you
See,
know what I mean?
my first internship was I was 15, and I was
Uh-huh.
on a military base, and my job was to do inventory of this medical supply room on base.
Okay,
So
okay.
I think I had the
You
I had
had
the I had
humble beginning.
the mailroom experience earlier on, so
There
I
you
was
go.
able to duck that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Y'all give him some love, man. This is Billy Almon. Am I saying your last name right, Almon?
Yeah, yeah, like the nut, just no.
Biofuturist, and we're gonna get you to break that down in just a little bit. But man, so you came out though. Your first gig was at this magical theme park, you know, and you are going to basically look at different ways, basically like imagine different worlds and different like experiences. So
Yeah,
talk
exactly.
about yeah. So like are you still there? How did that lead? What did that lead to? Like what was sort of the path after that?
Yeah, still there. Get to
Okay.
work as a creative director. So um, my day job, as I call it, is as a creative director. And so in that area, I'm what I call technology adjacent, right? So
Okay. Okay.
my role is to think of what kinds of experiences we want people to have, like what kind of world do we want to immerse them in,
Right.
and then working with a team of other designers, engineers, artists, and so
Yeah.
actually out of that is part of where this exploration of Astrobiofuturism came from, this sense of
Okay.
world building and forecasting into the future, but it's all centered around the improvement of the human condition.
Okay.
So it's really rooted in, if you remember, astronauts to the
Yep.
International Space Station, right?
Yeah.
Like that was just
Uh-huh.
amazing, right? Like commercial space exploration is happening,
Right.
right? But at the
Yeah.
same time, at the same time, you had, you know, people protesting in the streets. And I just remember seeing, you know, the CNN coverage, and there's this juxtaposition of that. And so Astrobiofuturism is really about looking into, you know, as we continue to explore the stars, how can we also apply the technology, the necessary innovation that's needed to get us further into the stars and make us, you know, a spacefaring society? How can that technology also be used for the near future of Earth? Because, you know, I'm looking. When you think about the fact that, like, we're not just at the beginning of climate change, we're in the middle of it. And so, like, it's like every year there's a new record of some kind of disaster.
Right.
So when you project, you know, we both have kids. You said your kids are one and three.
Right?
Yeah. So my two daughters, one is 5, the other's 3 months old. But when you look at, like, the average lifespan of a human being, you know, that's, you know, for men it's like 70,
70-ish.
72. Women it's like 85 or so. So when you think about, like, 85 years out, right, and you think about, like, where the projection of where we are, just in terms of climate change, how we live and adapt on Earth. So that's where a lot of astrobiofuturism is centered around for me.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense because, you know, you got astro, which you're talking about, you know, space, we're looking out. Then you have the bio, basically our lives, you know, how do we live, right? And then futurism in the future. So I kind of get all that. So I thank you for breaking that down. It's funny, though, because the number one thing I hear, you know, I mentioned that I worked at NASA for a little while, like, people will always be like, or certain groups of people will be like, why are we spending so much time going out there, and why are we doing all that? And I think that's the key. You know, when I start thinking about, you know, there was this one thing called NASA Spinoffs, I think, like a book, where they show how a lot of the technology that was developed for trying to get to the moon and things like that really helped improve life here. I think, like, materials and textiles and all that stuff. And so I'm just wondering if you can kind of maybe speak to a specific example, Billy, of where you have found, hey, this is something that perhaps emerged as we look towards space, but it is now experiencing some real practical use.
There's this quote that I like to use that speaks to this idea of, like, the best way to predict the future.
Create it, yes.
And there's another quote that I use in conjunction with that, which the future is here.
We pause it just a little bit, real quick. Yeah, we freeze it just for 1 second. Let me see if I can get you back on. All right, there we go. We good. We good. You there?
Okay. Yeah. So there's this other quote that says that the future is just not evenly distributed yet. So you already have companies that are developing space module hotel rooms, and they've already been connected and are being tested right now in the International Space Station. And so when you think about, like, natural disasters, and when you think about how many, you know, potential climate refugees, people who have to leave their countries or their homes because of flooding or what, like, or fires or things of that nature, you start to realize that we're going to have to look at how we house people differently. We're going to have to think about architecture differently in the future to come. And so the thing about space that makes it so appealing is everything is by necessity, right? Like, everything, every bolt, every screw not needed, it doesn't exist, right?
No dead weight, efficiency, no dead weight, no, got you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you start to think about the numbers of people that are going to start to be affected just in architecture alone, and how you're going to have to house them, how you're going to have to provide these adaptable structures as weather start to change, you start to see that there's a lot more. Can you hear me? I know I froze.
Yeah, you froze. I hear you. I still hear you though. All right, now I don't hear you
Okay.
anymore. Okay, you
Um,
back.
so
Okay.
you start to see that everything in space exploration is about being adaptable and flexible, and that's what we're going to
Right.
need to be in the future. So right now, I'm thinking a lot about architecture and deployable architecture, and then another area I think will be wearables. I think wearables will have a huge impact on a lot of different things to
Okay.
come, including
Yeah. You mean like wearable electronics, basically, for those like wearable electronics. Yeah. Tech.
exactly,
Okay. Wearable
exactly,
tech.
yeah,
Got you.
yeah.
Monitoring our heart rate, monitoring, all this types of stuff. I like that though, because even today, you just think about so many people who, um, could go months, sometimes years, even between doctor visits, and like things can be going on, they have no idea. But how convenient is it to have, some sort of smart tech that can kind of monitor certain things that doesn't just 100% depend on you making that checkup appointment all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And, I did research in that too, Billy. So we might talk a little bit more, man, because structural engineering is my background,
Okay.
and I did a lot of work in smart structures, and
Okay.
basically integrating sensors with our buildings and so forth. So making sure we know when basically the building says ouch. They can't come to the doctor. So if we can integrate sensors, so that's really important, man. Where do you think though? What do you think is I guess the inflection point for there to be sort of like, because it always seems like there's like one big side of the population that's like, yeah, let's go for it, let's push, and the other side of the population is like, we have bigger, better problems. And not to try to get too political, but what do you think is that catalyst? I don't know if I lost you. Did you lose me? Did you hear me?
I lost your catalyst. I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think is necessary for there to be more of a push towards looking in this direction? Because it always seems to be like only a segment of the population that seems to really go. And I'm not trying to get too political, but what do you think is necessary to help open and awaken the eyes of many people who may not realize the importance of this type of work?
I think it's going to be a lot of I want to say entrepreneurship, that
Okay.
just a collection of small proof cases or case studies that prove out some of these things are successful. And
Mm-hmm.
and I think the other part of it too is, and this is kind of what we were talking about, off camera, was like more people need to build different platforms, right? Like right
Yeah,
now,
for sure.
space exploration is, it's the new golf, right? It's like billionaires,
Yeah.
and until you have other people building platforms and finding different ways to use this technology,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's still still pretty lofty. I mean, we're sending things out to space in the next year to 5 years, but
Right.
until the commercial aspect of it, I think it's a scale issue.
Scale.
Um,
Okay.
but I know that a lot of these companies that are looking towards it now, they're either launching satellites or they're planning to have transcontinental flights, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those are still going to be expensive tickets. So it's
Yeah.
going to have to be some other element, some other sensor that's developed, like you said, that can be
Right.
applied to, you know, um, that can be to a Geiger counter or improve a Geiger
Yeah.
counter, to really
Yeah.
kind of prove it
No
out.
doubt. No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it takes a, enterprise that helps people to feel it and touch it and experience it more. And that's why I guess was smart for NASA. We're gonna let a SpaceX or like a Virgin, I think, and a lot of other these private companies get into that work. And I think that's pretty cool. That's cool. And I think there's so much more to come. Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to the Plant-Based MD, our guest from last week. AT Rap, yep, smart structures, all about Teresa. Hey, if y'all have a question for Billy Almon, he is here, the Afro Biofuturist, telling us a little bit about the work he does. If you have a question for him, make sure you drop it in the comments and we will get to it. But Billy, man, you have a lot of facets about yourself just from hearing you and talking right here. You know, you draw, you talk about, you know, how again, Afro Biofuturism. But let's talk a little bit about your love for nature, man, the great outdoors, you know. You are the co-host. Wait a little bit. Y'all hang out with us. You hear me? Okay, you're the co-host of Little Giants on Animal Planet. So talk us a little bit about, first of all, how did you get tapped for this particular gig? Oh man, you're mute right now. Can you hear me?
Oh, am I?
Okay, now I hear you. I guess maybe I hear you now. All right. Yeah, talk to us a little bit how you got tapped for Little Giant Show, Animal Planet, and just how you got into like the whole nature realm of your work experience.
Yeah, so you know, that's rooted in like where, you know, the whole Billy biology kind of origin story. So the one thing I didn't mention when talking about AstroBioFuturism is also the idea of exploring nature-inspired technology, right, through biomimicry, right, or design and innovation inspired by nature and natural strategies. And so for me, I got my master's of science in biomimicry, and I was as part of the program, we were traveling around the world to 6 different ecosystems, doing these ecosystem immersions, where we essentially study all of the components, all of the individual beings that contribute to the whole of ecosystems in these different places. And I was calling one of my nephews, who was about 10 at the time, from Tofino, British Columbia. And I was talking to him, and I was just checking in and just asking him, like, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And he told me he was oscillating between either being a rapper or a basketball player. And you know, as I'm out here, you know, in this one of the world's most beautiful places on earth, you know, having this job where I'm thinking about the future, and so for me, it felt like it was something where he wasn't necessarily getting as exposed to all the things that I was exposed to. So I wanted to give him some more choices, and other kids of color too, kind of only see the same role models. So I started shooting these videos of all these different things about nature that I was learning.
Were they YouTube videos, or you were just doing them private?
They were. I just started privately on like Facebook, and I was just sharing these little lessons. And you know, at the end of them, I would say,
he right for the tag. Give us that tag again. How did you tag the video? If you froze, no, you froze right when you about to give the tag. How you would tag the video? What would you say at the end?
Dramatic. See, that's the storytelling part.
That's it. There you go.
Drama. No, I would just at the end of it, I would just say Billy biology, right? Because for me, the thing with science and science communicating is, you know, obviously it's knowing your audience, but for me, it's like I'm not interested in the technical terms of stuff, because I'm a designer, right? So I'm not as adherent to the academic terms in how I communicate things. So for me, it's like, we're out there, they're talking about like, so this falls in the excretion.
Yeah, you're not getting caught up in the jargon. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that's where it poops. Okay. Right. So Billy biology was just translating all of these scientific academic things into, a colloquial, everyday vernacular for people that I think relate to me. So anyway, a good buddy of mine, Bradley Trevor Grieve, who's the co-host for the show, he reached out to me, and we've known each other for over a decade now. And he was telling me that he had the show that he was pitching, the Animal Planet, and he thought it'd be hilarious if he and I were the host of it.
Oh, so he pitched it. He pitched the show.
Oh, he created it and he pitched. He's a
Wow.
brilliant man and a good friend of mine. Shout out BTG.
Yeah. Shout out, man.
So yeah, so in the process of that, you know, he took me under his wings because he had already done a show for Animal Planet, and he's appeared on several of their other shows, and so we did the show together, and you know, he took me under his wing, and in terms of TV production and storytelling, and so the whole show is me and him, he and I traveling around the world. He's a wildlife expert. So he knows all of these great myths about these tiny creatures. And the cool thing about the show is I get to be me in the sense that I'm looking at these animals and their adaptations through the lens of design and technology. And so we get to go, we're hunting, we're, you know, in a lot of instances, making fools out of ourselves, chasing after little lizards in the desert and stuff like that. And then we get to humanely, we capture some of them. We have this kind of lab set up where we get to kind of build these fake little physical representations of the environments that they live in. But it allows us to kind of measure up close with some really great camera work and some really cool technology, measure up close the strength and power of these amazing little creatures' adaptations. So the whole show is really cool. I think so far, actually, 4 episodes. I want to say 4 episodes have actually aired so far, and we're still waiting for. We're still waiting for, I think, the confirmation on the next air dates when they're going to release the rest of the episodes. But they liked the October Halloween time window for us. So,
time window. Got you. I didn't know 4 episodes were 16th, so I wasn't really sure how that rollout was working. So they already released it and they paused it, and then what was that?
I mean, and I'll be honest with you, I you know, that's one of the things you learn is like how stuff is communicated once you do a television show. I might do a whole workshop on just things I've learned from doing a TV show around STEM. It's very fascinating. But no, so actually the first episodes aired October 16th of last year. That's when they aired the first couple.
Last year,
but you might have to send me that article because maybe they're planning on airing the rest this upcoming October, which would be great.
Yeah. I was trying to figure that out, and man, you know, you talking about TV, right? Like, man, I can tell you, bro. Like, I remember when I first got like hit up, like, hey, you want to come out here and shoot I think it was it was like a pitch concept one time. I was like, oh man, I'm about to be on TV. But I've learned, bro, like there's so much that goes on between, you know, the conversation with the producers and it actually airing on TV. And like I promise you, like so many projects have like vanished into thin air, and I have no idea where they are, or maybe they're overseas somewhere and just never got on American television. Because your show, I think I saw some episodes in Spanish too, right? Like it's airing in other countries.
Yeah.
Where was that at?
Yeah, I think it was either, I want to say I saw like some Brazilian advertisements.
Yeah.
I think I saw an episode where we're in Portuguese. It's something that actually hasn't aired in the States yet, but I saw they have a couple of the highlights from a few of the episodes on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite episodes that we shot. It was so funny.
No. You're like, man, I didn't know I spoke Portuguese like that well.
I told my wife, I was like, my Portuguese voice is better than my American voice. I have to dub everything I say.
I know, right? I love it, man. I love it. That's dope, man. That's dope. Well, yo, we had a question from Katie earlier, and I'm glad you made it back on. We got some other couple of questions, actually, but I'm going to go back to the earlier one. Back when we were talking about AstroBioFuturism, I think Katie, let me find it. She says, Katie Caliper says, how does agriculture, trees, and plants fit into Astrobiofuturism, if at all?
Oh, that's a great question. And so that's partly where my interest in biomimicry comes into play, because when you think about what we as humans have to do to travel amongst the stars, there's really like 2 courses of action, right? Like, one, we either have to find a way to take the planet with us, or we worlds or environments that we're eventually going to inhabit, right? So, I mean, a space station like Earth, you know, it's referred to as spaceship Earth, right? A friend of mine named Daniel, he had a Hawaiian reference for it, like Earth is the greatest canoe. I'm totally butchering it, but Daniel, if you're here, you have to drop that phrase. But
What up,
it's the
Daniel?
idea that we have to take Earth to survive, right? We need oxygen.
Right.
We need water. There's so many things about living on planet Earth that we are accustomed to. One of the things that I'm really looking at is also space psychology, right? Like, there's all
Space psychology.
yeah. I mean, there's all this excitement about going to Mars, but the psychology of leaving the one point of reference,
Earth.
that exactly, right? And even when you think about like early colonizers and early settlers, they were still breathing oxygen, right? They still, you know, even though it was the ocean and it was salt water, they still had access to water. So when you were one of the people who were going from this planet that you've grown up on, that you watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians on, that your family is on, and you're going to a place where your everyday mental objective is to survive and to find a way to live. It's a completely different, unprecedented psychological switch that not everyone is necessarily going to be accustomed to, let alone living in space. So when you think about the terrains that we live on, you know, a lot of the rules of physics and chemistry on this planet are the same as they are on other planets. And the whole thesis of biomimicry is that, you know, for 3.8 billion years that life has existed on this planet, all of the organisms that we see today have gone through several types of adaptation that have allowed them to survive in these different extreme environments. So why don't we study what they've done to survive and apply it to technology, apply it to processes, apply it to our ways of life to have sustainable life that's also adaptive in these different situations.
Yeah, man, you dropping some serious knowledge right now, and I want to make sure people are hearing, because I hear you. Your pictures are jacking up a little bit, but I hear you though. I'm with you. Can y'all hear Billy? Are y'all hearing Billy? Are y'all getting what he shared? Because I think that's profound, and that's what I've thought about when you were talking about it, Billy. By the way, y'all let me know if y'all can hear anything he shared. But there is sort of that dichotomy, or you know that, you know, do we change ourselves? Do we change our environment when we get to space to try to mimic Earth, or do we just become better versions of human beings to be able to survive in that environment? And I think that is a good way to think about it. Like you said, the psychology involved, not so dependent on water or air as we know it here, but perhaps how it exists wherever we're trying to go. So yes, Angela says she can hear. Nefertari can say, okay, great, I can hear you. That's really good, Billy. That's good stuff.
And I just want to pick up on that a little bit more, because again, you got to remember the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. So there's already people in Europe who are already playing with their own biology, adding, you know, computers to. They're already hacking their, technological adaptations added to them, right? So this stuff is already like we've already cloned a sheep, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're already making pigs to glow by injecting them with the genes of, like, you know, mushrooms or something, right? Like these things are already happening. So it's not an if, it's a when. And for us, you know, on the technology side, I was at a conference a couple years ago where there was a professor from I think Akron University of Akron, who was making the case that robotic snakes are going to be a necessity on Mars because of the terrain, and just how navigating the terrain will be easier for these robotic snake robots than rovers. So when you talk about what can we learn from from nature, it's something that we have inherently been doing since the beginning of time. When I think
Right.
about ancient indigenous fishers casting a fishing net, and
True.
when I visualize that fishing net and the way that it's designed, and you can Google this too, it's hard for me to not believe that there was some curious, inventive, indigenous ancient fisher who was walking through a field one day and saw an insect caught in a spider's web and said, "That's a way that we can catch things." And so so this idea of turning to nature, it's a new design trend, it's a new name, but it's an indigenous practice for something that we as inventors and designers have been doing for since our existence.
Yeah, as far as that we can go. Yeah, no doubt.
Yep, the Wright
Bio-inspired
brothers.
technology, loves it. Yeah, the Wright brothers. Teresa's loving it. Plants, bio-inspired technology. Obviously, when you talk about biomimicry, Velcro is one of those things people readily point to.
That's right.
With the spurs and everything. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. All right, we're coming down to where. Let me get this question from Prof. Induna. Says, how did you feel changing career paths, interest from political science to architecture? How did you handle it? And I'm assuming, yeah, I'm sure really psychologically or even socially. Someone asked about that.
So I would that actually happened before I like the day one of college. I changed majors, so it
Okay.
wasn't too far down the line. The interesting thing about that is like the reasons that I wanted to be in political science were also the reasons why I wanted to be an inventor and be an architect, which was to solve problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the experience that I had in as a volunteer, as a disaster aid volunteer after Hurricane Katrina, right? Like seeing that devastation, predominantly the ones mostly impacted by these things.
Right.
That didn't change, but in terms of making a career change, there's again the strategy and nature of building from the bottom up,
Mm-hmm.
and for myself and people who I know who have made career changes, it's always been the way that it's been doing is slowly integrating the thing that you want to do into the thing that you're doing,
Yeah.
until you have what I call liftoff, which is
Ah.
enough. You have enough air underneath your wings. This is another animal reference, right? But not liftoff, but lift, right? You have
Lift.
enough
Okay.
thrust underneath your wings that when you flap, you realize you're floating, and you just
Mm-hmm.
keep doing that. And so you're cultivating lift, and you go higher and higher, and then you look down
It's
and you realize
perpetuating.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then you
Yeah.
realize that you're not on the ground anymore. So
Yes.
it's not always the prudent thing to make the big leap as much as it is do a whole bunch of really small things, and then when you look down, you realize your feet aren't on the ground anymore.
Right. Right. No, I like that, man. Listen, you are inspiring, and you're true to your title of Astrobiofuturism, man. Futurist, man. I think this is so incredibly inspiring. That spoke to me, what you just said right now, Billy. And one thing I know as we come down to our last 2 minutes is that you're also a speaker. You know what I mean? You also go and you do talks and things like that, workshops. So tell us a little bit about that aspect. And also, if you could, as we get ready to wrap up, give us a little bit of what we can look out for as it relates to your brand and the things you're doing before we get our parting words.
Yeah, I do a lot of professional public speaking, especially I'm doing a lot more of it now focused on astrobiofuturism, but with my
Yeah.
background as a designer and as a creative director, the idea of world building and placing people in immersive stories. I'm doing a workshop for teachers actually on world building in the classroom as a way to make
Mm,
students the heroes of their own learning,
I
using
love
some
it.
storytelling techniques. Continue to love to talk about biomimicry, and
Yeah.
the main thing I love talking about, the thing I'm focusing on now and doing some workshops around is why I see nature as the future of STEM. and why I think anyone who's eventually going to go into STEM or any high school student, the two things that they want to get a good handle of is coding and biology. I think those are the two things when you when you think about Elon Musk and the announcement he just made with Neuralink, right?
Right.
That is all about essentially backing up the data of your mind, or a good friend of mine, Aaron Shepard. Shout out to Space Cadet Shep if he's on here.
Space Cadet Shep. Oh, that's my boy. He was on it before. Yeah.
I mean, the brother's making a company where or he has a company that is selling toys that you manipulate with your mind, right? Shout out to Cogito. So when you start to think about again where things are now, even though they're not evenly distributed, you start to realize that understanding biology and being able to code to solve problems and create things is going to be the way of the future.
That is good and practical advice, man. Of course, coding obviously has its place. It's going to be here for time to come. But biology, man, you've definitely made a strong case for that. And I really appreciate you saying that too, man. So thank you.
No doubt.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, y'all. This has been Billy Almon. We've had a little hiccups here and there, man, but you've really been dropping a lot. We're going to, hey, this is just
like that.
Part one. This is part one. And, listen, have you ever participated in NSBE? Jose Prado asked that question real quick. NSBE at all?
I haven't. I was part of. As an architect, that wasn't necessarily my focus. I was more activities, but not necessarily NSBE because I wasn't an engineer, so I didn't see that as my place.
For sure.
But I do love NSBE. I got a lot of NSBE.
No doubt, man. Yeah. You got another one here, man. I didn't realize you had such a close affinity for the built environment as well. So we have to talk a little bit more on those lines at some point, man. Yeah. But go ahead and give us some parting words of wisdom, man. It can be a quote. It can be some advice, something to leave us with as we close out. It's part one, Billy, of our chat, having you here on STEMedia Live. Go ahead and let us know.
Everyone has a dream that they don't even whisper to themselves because it's too crazy and it seems like it'll never happen. Those are the dreams you have to protect and go after right now, just from one small point. Do one thing every day that gets you closer to that dream. For me, that was AstroBioFuturism, and that's what I'm doing now. So you have that dream in the back of your head. You have that crazy thing of you being on the moon or you being XYZ. It's there for a reason. Don't ignore it. And the thing with futurism is it's not about predicting the future. It's about reverse engineering your present to get you into that future. So listen to that dream, listen to that thing that's telling you to do something amazing, and just think back to what's the first thing you can do that'll get you closer to it than you are today.
Wow. Man, you about to make me shout up in here, bro. Like, listen.
Glory!
Oh, my goodness. Hey, what is that dream that you don't even dare to whisper to yourself? That's the one you have to go. Hope y'all got that. You see those hearts, man? And then you had to hit us with I have to think about this, man. You said reverse engineering our present to get us to that. Man, you're gonna have me thinking all night, Billy. I appreciate you, brother.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, think about that's how we got to the moon.
Yeah.
You start with the dream, man.
Wow.
You start with the dream, and you back yourself into it. Okay, what do I need to get to the moon? I need a rocket.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
What do I need for this rocket to get to the moon? I need fuel. Okay. What kind of fuel do I need to get on this rocket to get to the moon? Right. And that's how you
man.
Dreams, man.
Well, y'all give us the love as Instagram gets ready to count us down. Billy, this has been fantastic, man. Like I said, I feel like this is the first of just many conversations. I consider it a pure honor to have you on STEMedia Live, and I affirm everything you're doing. If there's anything, you know, I can do or STEMedia do to support you, man, we here, man. Just a call or a text away.
Likewise, brother. Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. We're gonna
Yeah.
make it work. We're
No
gonna make it do
doubt.
what
No
it
doubt.
do, baby.
Make it do what it do. Regards to the family, man. All the best to you. Have a great week, man.
All right. Be blessed,
All
bro.
right.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon. Peace.
All right. Thank you again. Thanks y'all for sticking with me.
Yes. Yes. All right. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. This has been another edition of STEMedia Live. Thank you, Billy. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. And we will be right here tomorrow, same time, same place, with another creative and inspirational time in person in the STEM community. Have a great one. Talk to y'all later. Peace.